Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of NRL Supercoach Off the Bench. I'm your host, Ross, coach of the Bench Warmers. Tonight on the podcast, we've got Timmy and Guy. Guy, welcome.
How we doing, lads? Excited for another week. Unfortunately, our results didn't go away last night with Origin, but let's look forward to Supercoach back this week.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit about the game in a minute. And lastly, Timmy, welcome.
Queenslander. It's good to live north of the border, that's for sure. What a great day to be alive.
All right, well, I guess we'll talk about Origin, and then we'll also go through and discuss the week, a bit of this weekend's games as well, who we think may and may not back up. There has been some players already ruled out, obviously. So boys, the game last night, Timmy, I know you're ecstatic about it. I thought there was some pretty average performances there from New South Wales. I thought probably the worst game I've seen Tedesco play in a long time. Stephen Crichton was okay in patches, but got found out a few times. I thought Hudson Young was not great, and TPJ just didn't do anything, and probably shouldn't be there next game. But I really thought our game turned around when Cam Murray and Liam Martin came on. They made a massive difference to our team. And hats off to Queensland for the kicking pressure that they put on Cleary as well, because they did a really good job on containing his kicking game. I just think our forwards let us down a bit as well. But Queensland hammer, double, Cobbo a double. Bruce Walsh was pretty solid as well, I thought too. But Talangi was probably close to the best on field as well, saving a couple of tries as well, I thought too. But we'll go to you first, Guy. Leave you bloody Queenslander for last. What was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I just thought credit to Queensland. Their attitude was probably a bit better. So many parts of the game can go either way. Always happens with Origin. We had 2-point lead with 7-8 minutes to go. All of a sudden they get sent a man to the bin, and we kind of just drop our heads a little bit. There's a lot of points in the game you could wish you take back. Pengai's offload.
Stephen Crichton's battle too was another one.
Yeah, I thought Bizza was great, as he always is. Strong carries out of the back. Just a couple of soft efforts in D, which was disappointing. That try on the wing, getting through Luai and Teddy. I don't know. That shouldn't have even been a try in an NRL game, let alone Origin. You definitely got to put your body on the line there and definitely make some contact. In terms of changes, Harsh should be. We need him out there longer. I would have liked to see DeBellin maybe. He probably doesn't bring much in attack. Maybe a Ola Kawatu maybe can punch through the line a bit more than a Hudson Young. But we could have won the game very easily with that team, and we would have been talking very differently. So I just think on the night they're the better team, and we'll have to try and knock them off at Suncorp in game 2.
Definitely going to be a challenge winning up there. I thought we had enough chances to win the game. We had a lot of ball in Queensland's, half there at one stage, and hats off to them for the defence. As I said, Talangi saving a couple of tries too was pretty good. All right, Tim.
The main hold on, me goes was just our ruck. I thought for an Origin game, I know the game's gotten quicker, but they just need to make a lot more of an effort to slow it down, because Harry and once they get that bit of that roll on, I thought they did really well at not letting us get many meters and forcing us to kick within our half every time. Just winning that ruck, I thought their forwards definitely just slowed us down, and obviously got away with it. There were quite a few penalties, but not many for holding down. Over to Timbo.
No,
that's enough. You guys said everything.
I'm just going to mute him. Hang on a minute. Let's just mute him.
You guys can overanalyze it as much as you like. Hey, look, I copped a bit of flack in our some of our podcast chats last night for bringing up Cleary. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I'm not for one second suggesting he's a shit player, because I don't think he is, not by any means. He's the best halfback in the comp, probably the best halfback in the world. but at the same time, it just doesn't seem to click for him at Origin level for whatever reason. I've got no idea what it is. He's obviously he runs the show at the Panthers, and he's so used to having all those Panthers players around him. And obviously, for the last 2 or 3 years, the Panthers as a whole have been a much better team than everybody else in the comp, and which is why they've gone back-to-back premiers. But for whatever reason, once he gets to that Origin level, I made the similarities last night to Mitch Pearce and got absolutely hosed for it in our chat groups. So, but I mean, Mitchell Pearce, he played so well at club level for so long. And then when he get to Origin level, he just seemed to be a different player. It didn't seem to matter who he had beside him. But he's obviously got one of the worst records in Origin history for losses when he's played. I don't think he's ever, or the last season that he played in game 3 or something. I think it's the first time he's been part of a winning series in his whole career. So, look, I'm not for 1 second suggesting that Cleary is the same sort of player, but for whatever reason, something just doesn't click when he plays at Origin. He obviously Queensland, their defensive line moved up quite quickly last night, and that sort of hosed him down a little bit. But I mean, Penrith Panthers play like that on a week-to-week basis. I was at the Panthers-Broncos game only a couple of weeks ago, and their defensive line did exactly that. So when you've got the New South Wales team that's bloody half made up of the Penrith Panthers, why couldn't they do exactly the same thing to the Queensland team? I think the biggest problem with New South Wales is they pretty much have one kicker. So all the attention goes on Nathan, and the boys just know exactly where the ball's going to go. On the 5th tackle, it's going out to Cleary and see what he does with it. Luai's got very little threat from as far as kicking goes. I think the best thing that New South Wales did last year was put what's his name in left centre, Berto, it's left centre, and those towering bombs and everything else. But it meant that they had another option out that left hand side of the field. Cleary likes to play heavily out the right, and Berto was out that left hand side. So look, I think that was the biggest mistake going back to Luai. They worked out last year that it didn't really work, and that's why they put Burton in. And then this year, Berto didn't get a look in. So it's an interesting one. I think apart from that, look, one of our best players, as far as I'm concerned, I think was Ben Hunt. He's, for a guy that insists he wants to be a halfback, he's probably the best hooker in the comp, and probably has been over the last 2 or 3 years. So, look, he doesn't have the same sort of flair as Harry Grant and Cookie when he's obviously on fire. But, look, Ben Hunt is just solid. And the fact that he can kick a ball, is certainly just an extra feather in the cap there for Queensland.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Luai needs to go for the next game, but I don't think Hines is the answer. I actually don't know if he's quite ready for Origin yet. I would actually put Burton in the halves with Cleary. He's got that extra option for the kicking game as well. I don't know. It just seemed Hines was wasted on the bench. He only came on when Turbo got HIA, and they scored through him because through the centres there as well. So
it comes back down to Freddie. I mean, if you weren't going to play him at hooker, there was not really much use.
Well, I
him.
thought that what they were going to do was, I wasn't expecting Appy to play 80 minutes. I was expecting Luai to go play some dummy half and Hines to go into the halves. I think that's what a lot of us thinking was going to happen. Obviously, it didn't. So for me, Hines was just wasted there. And then you bring him on and you play him in centres where he hasn't played for God knows how long. So
back onto Timbo's point about Nath, and not. I think the main difference with utilising his kicking game is not having that second option as so much, because with Penrith, he's still got Mitch Kenny and Luai. It's more the fact that he's forwards. At Penrith, you've got Fisher Harris, Leota, Linu. They're always getting on the front foot and getting winning the ruck, and they're always on the front foot. Penrith, you never them. They grind very hard if they are on the back foot, but most of the time they're generally on that front foot. And so I just think without that go forward, it's very hard for a half and backs to play off the back. I thought Queensland,
but he had Liam. He had buddy Isaiah Yeo there, and the other buddy knucklehead Liam. He was there. Like, I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but then the quality that he's got around him should be able to do the job. And let's be honest, at 7 or 8 minutes to go, if you're up by 2 points, it's your halfbacks team, and it's his job to basically put the ball in the corners, try and get the repeat sets, and make sure the other team doesn't get the ball. And
but it was an error that gave
pretty
you the
much
ball.
went missing.
It's just an attitude thing, because even kick chase, a lot of our kick chases I thought were very poor, just the small things. I thought Queensland's best was probably Munster, just skipping across the field. Just that, so strong, and just one player that can change a game. Probably similar to Latrell, I think, in terms of how he can just bump off a player and beat a player. But yeah.
I think, like, even on that though, like Munster, I thought he had a really quiet game till that last 10 minutes. And that sort of shows you the two different halves. Obviously, one's a 5'8", the other one's a halfback, but shows you when the game's on the line, those guys need to step up.
The only thing he did in that first half was set up that try for Hammer. Really, other than that, he was pretty bad.
Yeah. I thought he was far from our best player until that last bloody 5 to 10 minutes.
But that's when you need.
Yeah, it's exactly right, guy.
All right,
exactly
so I guess we should talk about some players who aren't going to back up this weekend. Obviously, Turbo's been ruled out, so that puts him out for this round and next round too, because it's 11 days. So he'll miss both games for Manly. I don't think Talangi will back up for the Cowboys after his HIA. I think they'll rest him too. I just think, they crazy to play him. Obviously, Gilbert's out. He was never named. Hammer's out. He was never named. I expect Payne Haas to play, given the minutes he played. Whether he plays only 40 minutes for the Broncos, I don't know. I think Feed will back up as well.
That's the other strange thing there, Ross. Like, I think there was there 4 forwards or 5 forwards out of the New South Wales team that played 30 minutes or less? Or
No. So Haas didn't play 30 minutes. He played 51. He played a 30-minute stint to start, and then he came on and played 21. Right. So he played 51 minutes.
That played low minutes. I know Hudson Young didn't come back after being booked after 20. Pangai only got about 30.
Yeah.
And Paulo only got about 30 as well. Murray ended up more.
Look, I think everyone from New South Wales will back up except for Turbo. But for Queensland, obviously Talangi, I don't expect him to play. I think for Feeder will play. Is there anyone else that we think may not back up?
Fafita might not play 80.
Possibly, yeah. He just didn't seem to do a lot in that game last night.
Because you have to play Thursday, I think, the following week as a quick backup.
They've got a 5-day turnaround to the next game.
Yeah, three games in 8 days or something, apparently. The same.
Yeah. Anyone else we think won't back up or plays reduced minutes? We're all pretty confident that Cleary plays.
Maybe Isaiah Yeo probably gets a few less minutes. Like, he played 80 minutes the other night. I think Paddy Carrigan, I can't see Paddy playing big minutes.
That's just the other one I was going to mention too that I don't think will probably play will be, I think that, who's the one from the Cowboys? Cotter. I think Cotter will either won't play or will play very limited minutes after because he had a massive game. He had 60, he have something like ridiculous amount of tackles, like 50 or 60 tackles, played 80 minutes. I'd be very surprised if he plays big minutes on the weekend.
He's got that workload in him. He was doing that every week for a while.
Well, we'll see. Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Listen, we've obviously on Sunday's pod we went through the games that are coming up, but let's just go through them quickly and see if we've got any trading options for any of these games. So Tigers versus Raiders. Obviously, there's some options here for the Tigers in Buller, Bateman, and IPAP. For the Raiders, well, they don't play round 16. I think Croker's a sell. I do. I think he's not playing this weekend. They don't play round 16. I think he's done his job. He's made a fair bit of cash. I think he's a move on. Your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He's a move on now, especially if he's not playing, doesn't play this week, and then doesn't play. So he misses 2 weeks basically because he's got the bye and missing a game till he plays at home.
And would you possibly look? Sorry.
Well, I'm getting rid of Tomoko. So
Would you look at buying?
that was a
Horsey?
really bad call on my behalf. I tried to go the pod play. I think he cost me 750K, and he's now at 620 or something. He's going to lose another 100K this week with the 134 BE. So
What's your
that's the way it goes. Got to risk it.
What's your thoughts on buying Horse, even though they don't play round 16?
I'd take Horse over Tapane. For I think Tapane's about 615 and Horse is 619. So I'd probably take the big Horse over Taps, but
You wouldn't go either without that round 16.
No,
I think you'd be looking at a Cora or a Bateman or an IPAP or a Wilton if you're looking at something like that.
Yeah, well, none of front rowers though, but
yeah.
Next
game, you go.
I love the Bateman trade. I'm highly considering it this week as well for Jackson Ford. It's just the fact that they play first game and with a few uncertainties with players backing up, and I've got Peachy and with Targo sitting there expected to come in, it's a bit hard to make that trade in the first game, but we'll see tomorrow.
I got the same as you guys. I've got Peachy as well. Warriors, Dolphins, the next one. Obviously, neither of these teams play round 16. Obviously, as we said, Ford's probably a sell. I don't think you guys agree. Probably no one to trade in for these two teams this week. I wouldn't be trading anyone in for either of them.
No, AFB if you've got $1 million lying around somewhere, but that's about it.
And I think Osako is an option for VC this round too. A definite VC option for this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Warriors will win this one in Mount Smart. Everyone keeps underrating them.
I don't know, mate. They didn't do the job last week against the undermanned Broncos. They couldn't even beat them.
Yeah, Broncos, they're top of the ladder, mate. I don't know.
Hold on, I'll just change jumpers. I'll put my Broncos one on.
All right, next game's the Titans versus the South Sydney Bunnies. Who would you be trading anyone in from either of these teams this week?
Look, I love Kalamatangi, but I think you guys are nuts if you don't find a spot for him for game 2. So as much as I want to bring him in, and he's certainly on my radar for next week, if there is any solid talk over the next 7 days about him playing for New South Wales, unfortunately, I'll be giving him a miss.
Well, neither of these teams play round 16 either, do they?
No, they have the bye. It'd be round 19 game that he plays.
I don't think it matters. I think if he's depending on how he goes this week, like he's got 110 BE or something at the moment. Otherwise, I was going to bring him in this week, regardless of whether he plays 16 or not. I just think there's enough points there over the next 3 weeks to have a week off.
Yeah, and it's just their draw. They go Titans, Dragons, Cows, Warriors, Dogs. It's a great draw.
And that's what I mean. I think it's a great draw, and I'd be all over him if he's not going to get picked.
Yep. And the next one's the Sharks versus Broncos. Obviously, the Broncos don't play 16, but the Sharks do, and I think there's freaking plenty of options in the Sharks. The whole of the back line is definitely an option, plus Nakora, we take Wilton as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could just about throw a cast net over just about anybody in the Sharks and pick them up. You'd be happy with them in your 17.
I think given they're playing the Broncos this week, because I don't think this is going to be an easy matchup. I think if you're deciding between a back or a forward for this game, I'd be going a forward over a back against the Broncos. So maybe look at Wilton or Nakora over one of your backline players.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think they'll score points at home?
Maybe. I don't know. They're not. The problem is at the moment they're not playing well in the second half. They're not playing 80 minutes of football.
I'd be interested to know where Broncos have been leaking their points. I mean, with Cobbo out, is Cobbo out? Yeah.
Yeah, Cobbo won't play.
I think he will
be. Yeah. I don't know.
I think Dean Mariner will come back in. Come in for Cobbo.
He had a good game against the Warriors.
Played very well.
He's
solid.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be first cab off the rank when Herbie goes next year. I think Dean Marini's got that spot probably sewn up.
Tristan Saylor won't come in.
He'll be there or thereabouts, but yeah, I think he's more of a fullback than anything else, is my understanding, but I could be wrong.
Next one is the Roosters versus the Doggies. I think this game could go either way. Both teams play round 16. The question is, boys, is there anyone worth trading in from this game from either of these two teams at the moment?
Yeah, definitely.
Who?
Well, my issue is I've got Brown and Isaiah Katoa at 5'8". So Brown's on the bye this week. So I've either got to play Isaiah Katoa or trade him. I could bring Schuster down and get him for a back rower, but then Schuster doesn't play this week either. So I'm copying an AE in Stefano. The one I was looking at was Joey Manu now being available at 5'8". I think he's a decent option if you're in my boat and need a 5'8". Yeah, I think he's got that 5'8" spot for at least a few weeks.
So would you tell what you're going to trade Katoa to him?
Well, that's what I was looking at, but
There's a big difference in cash.
It's just he doesn't play 19 as well. So if I go to him, then I have to go to someone else, and I'm not too sure. Whereas if I just trade Katoa and just cop the AE and bring Schuster down, at least next week I can play Brown, and then in the bye week I'll have Brown and Schuster both for that week, and then Schuster will be up to 450 by then, so it'll be a bit easier to get rid of.
I think if I knew that Manu was playing fullback in round 16, I'd be all over him. It's just hard to know whether it's going to be him or Suwali that's going to play fullback. It's all going to depend. Because they did post the other day that it's been a setback to Sam Walker coming back. So if that's the case, it's more going to be the case of Suwali playing fullback then. Timmy?
Yeah. Yeah, look, as far as the Sharks go, if you were looking at a bit of a sneaky pod play, which I did, and this is how I got Nico in to begin with, I actually went, now I'm bloody mental and can't remember. I was going to say Chad Townsend, but it's not him anymore. Their buddy backup halfback. He played really well for the 2 or 3
No.
Don't, Timmy.
So I reckon a bit of a sneaky pod. Not saying you'd sell Hines, but if you were looking for someone who'll certainly score your points in 16 and 19, their backup half, I think you could. Trindle, that's what I'm thinking. Trindle. Yeah. So I actually had him and then used him to get some cash, and then after that put the cash in to get up to Hines before he went to bajillion dollars. So yeah.
I'm looking at a Sharks player. I was more looking at I'm more on a budget. Their left edge is obviously more appealing with Talakai and Mulatalo. I know a lot of people are keen on Kennedy, but they're all about up near 700k. So I was more looking at their right edge in Katoa and Ramey, and about 400, or just under 500k for Ramey anyway. And I know, I just think maybe it can wait a week against Broncos, but yeah, they could easily get a try at Cronulla.
The only thing that worries me about going Raymond or Katoa is a lot of their attacks going to the left side with Talakai and Mulatalo. That's what worries me. And I just don't know about going Katoa because you've got glue hand Raymond who doesn't pass.
Yeah, and he can break a tackle, and he takes quite a bit of runs and likes an offload. Supercoach friendly game, which is good. So
I had him for most of last season and wasn't unhappy, but he was sort of 50s and 60s. He wasn't like hundreds and 120, like a high ceiling. But if you're looking for a solid 50 to 60 week in, week out, I think he can go worse than Ramian.
Yeah. All right. Where are we up to next? The next one is the Cowboys and Storm.
No, we're still on Roosters and because we haven't gone through Kiraz.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, go on then. Talk about Kiraz. Talk up Kiraz. He's number one traded in this week too, by the way. Yeah,
so I've got Zach Lomax obviously playing Penrith this week and doesn't play 16, so he's going to go. And yeah, I'm torn between Kiraz and Ramian. I think both under 500k, nice price. I'll probably end up with both because they both play 16 and 19. But yeah, I'll probably leaning towards Kiraz this week. But I mean, he's playing the Roosters. You don't know what we're going to get with them really. Where are they playing?
So my question is if you're buying both, when are you? So you're going to get one this week and one next week, are you, or something? Is that your plan?
Yeah, so I've kind of looked at players that don't play 16 that are, even if they play 19, are not worth holding. So I've got the likes of Jackson Ford, Isaiah Katoa, Zach Lomax for me, Montoya, who I brought in last week, and even Tyrone Peachy, because he'll probably get dropped soon. So I've got about 4 or 5 that I definitely know I want out. And then just the ones I want to bring in. I've looked at, Bateman and IPAP at the second row, and then, Ramian and Kiraz at centre wing.
The only thing I was going to say is be careful with check your numbers for round 17 because Bulldogs, Tigers, and Sharks have got the bye round 17. So I wouldn't check all 3 of them in because that's going to be 3 less numbers you're going to have for 17.
Yeah, I've got no Bulldogs and I've only got Stefano as my only Tiger and Nico as my only Shark. So I'm them at the moment. That's why I want to bring them in.
Yeah. The game's at Gosford.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it could be a little bit tricky, but it's
Sunday afternoon day game.
Yeah, so Kiraz might be a bit more.
We've got 3 games on Saturday and 3 on Sunday. You beauty.
Yeah.
I think if you're trying to decide between Jacob Kiraz and Remus Smith, not Remus Smith,
Ramian.
Jesse Ramian, then I'd probably be going Kiraz if they're similar price anyway, because I think Kiraz just has that higher ceiling.
And the base too.
And I think the base is fairly similar, but Kiraz has definitely got the higher ceiling, certainly as far as this season goes.
Yeah.
All right, we've got the next game is Cowboys and the Storm. They both play round 16. Who are we liking here? I know he's bloody expensive, but I really like Nick Meaney at the moment too. I know he's not cheap, but for those who are looking for someone to bring in for Trell, possibly, or someone else, I think he's an option. They've got a pretty good draw. They play the Tigers round 16. They're only going to be missing Munster and Grant. He could have a good game, big game that game too. What do you guys think? Anyone you like for either of these 2 teams?
Guy?
I think at least the other one I was going to mention was at least Katoa as well. I know a lot of us have already sold him, but he could be an option to bring back in too.
Yeah, I like at least Katoa. I'm probably looking at the Tigers and the other back rows only because they don't play 19 as well. In regards to Meaney, if I was selling Trell and had the money, I'd probably go Will Kennedy instead. Yeah, I don't know. The one that interests me a little bit was just because of his price was the one that Timmy said before the pod in Xavier Coates. He'll be sub 300k, almost cheapy range. So he could just
do we think that he'd be worth jumping on round 16 with Munster not in the team? Do you think he gets fed enough ball to be feasible to be buying at that price?
I just think at that price, it's virtually a downgrade to
I just worry about he's another one of those centre wings that doesn't have a base. He'll either get you 10 or he'll get you 100. He's not going to get you a 50. You know what I mean? Unless he scores 1 try and does nothing else. But
if he gets it buy round, then it's definitely worth it. Like you could have had for example, in this buy round, you have a Stefano, you hold him for 30s and 40s, whereas you're probably not going to play him most rounds anyway, but you need him in that buy round.
I get what you're saying, Guy, but it's at that awkward price. It's hard to get rid of him. He's not going to be someone you're going to want for the run home.
No, but just you can downgrade and make money for someone else, and then he's also an extra buy number, and hopefully he can jag a try that week.
The hard part is he's a Storm outside back. You guys have been playing this game for as long as I have. They'll put on 100 1 week and then score 10s for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So I mean,
all the attack will go the other end to Warbrick, and he'll get nothing.
And you can't pick it. You can't just go, they're playing against Manly, and Manly's left side defence is shit, so they'll go right all night, and then the right side will catch a cold because the Storm will go left. Like, there's no logic to the Storm's game plan when you're looking at, you could play one winger this week over the other, because it just doesn't seem to work that way. Bellyache's a much smarter coach than the rest of us. And yeah, look, it's been that way forever. Addo was like that. Vunivalu was like that. And you just can't. I mean, I've had Coates before. I love him as a player. The other hard part with Coates is he's probably next cab off the rank. Is there if there is an injury to either Cobbo or Tuolangi? I actually thought Coates would probably get picked over Tuolangi for the first game, and obviously that didn't happen.
Hey Tim, I bet you glad he didn't.
No, absolutely, mate. He certainly earned his spot, especially in defence, and maybe that was part of it. So, yeah, look, I'm not a fan of any of the Storm outside backs. I've had Remus Smith for a lot of last season, and he's a bit like Jesse Ramian in that he's good for a 50 or 60, but he's not going to ton up on a very often occasion. So, yeah, I'm really unkeen on Storm outside backs.
Yeah. I'm generally in the same boat, but I just think with Coates, I mean, if you look at him, if he scores a 24 projected to this week, he's going to drop 36k and he'll be around 264k. So he's mid 200k and he's got good job security. He only needs to try to, and he'll easily make 100k. Plus it'll be an extra buy number. It's only because of his price at that virtually cheapy price. That's what I'm feeling.
So, alrighty then, we'll move on to the last game, which is the Riff versus Dragons. The Riff obviously play round 16. The Dragons do not play round 16.
One last thing, Roscoe, before we go on,
yes.
in regards to Coates being the next man in, you don't think they bring back Gagai, or is he gone now?
No, you could be right. I think it probably depends on whether it's a centre that they need or a winger that they need.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought Hammer. See, my originally plan was I'd have Hammer on the wing and kept Gagai there. And
I
think the idea was to get the hammer the ball earlier by having him in the centres. I think that was probably more the logic. He gets the ball that one step sooner. Gives him a couple of metres extra on the defensive line.
Hammer obviously showed why he was in the team.
Yeah.
In senses, that is. Awesome. So, yeah. All right, Guy. Griff and your Draggies, mate. This could be a bit of a touch-up, I think, possibly. Cleary's are definitely a captaincy option for this game. With the Panthers playing 16, is there anyone that you're keen on? I know that there is one I'm keen on if he does come back this week or next week, but I want to have a look first, and that's Isaac Targo. He's one that I'm pretty keen on.
Yeah, he's quite pricey though. You're in my boat. We've got Peachy, who we're probably going to have to sell before 16 because he'll most likely lose his spot. I've kept Taruva the whole time. Got the Dragons this week. Hopefully, can get a try or two, and then also hold him for 16. But yeah, I mean, I would have looked at Stephen Crichton if he didn't make the Origin team. I mean, he's probably not going to make game 2. You'd think Ken or Latrell, one of them will have to come in.
I think if Trell's not fit for the next game, I think they bring Burton in for Crichton the next game. I think they have to. Just for
what about
kicking game? Hey?
You don't think Campbell?
Do they just dump Turbo? Dump Turbo and Crichton goes out the right hand side.
I don't think they will. I don't see them doing that, unfortunately.
No, you don't dump Turbo.
If Trell's fit, he'll come straight back in for Critter. But I think if Trell's not fit, then I'd like to see Burton get a run over Critter. I just think he having that extra kicking game, like you said, Timmy, I think it's what we need for the next game.
Yeah.
Anyone else, boys? Who else do we like? Anyone? Dragons guy, you're selling Lomax?
Yeah, I'm selling Lomax. The one who's gone under the radar. I've had him in drafts, not too bad. Jaden Sewer. He's probably might even come into calculations now with Gilbert out for that Queensland team. But yeah, not for Super Coach. I mean, yeah, what's it called? Jacob Little, special mention, big turned up last week. But yeah.
Well
I think,
played to the 0.04% or something or other that brought him in.
yeah, no,
Someone
I told,
said it
and
was
I
like
know,
seven people.
yeah,
7 people traded him in last week or
Well,
something.
the only
and I know,
hookers.
and I was just sorry, boys. I was just going to say, NRL Supercoach Pro bought in Little, and
Oh shit!
he's now ranked just outside the top 100 after the weekend.
Wow.
Well, he went up 54K, and if with a 42 this week, he'll go up another 58K. So he's probably the only hooker that's actually going to go make money this year.
Yeah. Boys, interested on your thoughts. I think Jack DeBellin's a sell. I think he's done his job and made his money. I think he should move on now.
You could do worse than keeping him.
I'm not saying it's a priority trade.
Hmm.
It's far from a priority trade, but I think given he's not playing 16 and he's probably topped up in price now, I think you could probably move him on if you needed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
if you're going DeBellin to like a Horsburgh or something like that, I think it's a bit sideways, personally.
Who are you going to then? Or you're holding him until the Origin's over and then upgrading him to someone else like a Cam Murray who's going to be dirt cheap after 19 or
Well,
what
you'd
do
have
we
him
do?
front row for sure, DeBellin. You wouldn't have him at back row.
No, but
but
if you've got the right duels, you can bring in a front row though, or a second rower, I should say.
Yeah, but I just think there's more appealing back rowers. So you definitely have them at front row. But I mean, you've got Tapane, Tohu, Horsburgh, Payne Haas. You could have any two of those, AFB.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
sorry, Guy.
A lot of them don't play 16, which is where the issue comes.
Mm.
As for pods, out of that Panthers team, I really like Dylan Edwards. I think if you had a choice between, like if you're looking for a fullback, I'd be going Kennedy or Dylan Edwards. I think most people will go Kennedy as a pod initially, but I think Dylan Edwards will be the biggest pod, and he's arguably nearly the best fullback in the comp at the moment, and probably has been for a while. So as far as sort of long-term super coach points goes, like you just about bet your house on he scores 80 most weeks. So he's a pod that I've certainly looked at, and if I wasn't stacked at fullback at the moment and not really ready to move anyone on, he's probably someone that I would look at. Just looking at the draw over the next couple of weeks. So Panthers have got Roosters next week, and Eels have got the Bulldogs. I know I asked you boys this before the show, but I'm sure there's people out there questioning it. Is there a world where you might trade Mitch Moses back to Cleary for the next couple of weeks? It's 750K for Moses versus 800.
He's not playing round 16. He's not playing round 19. God.
I just mean if you've got extra trades at the moment, which I mean, like Guy and I do, you certainly don't.
Yeah. Look, I don't hate the idea. I mean, the good thing is Moses is on a bye, which means that if Cleary isn't playing, you don't have to make that trade now. You can make the trade Sunday before the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, Guy. What do you think?
In regards to Cleary,
Like trading him in now, like this week for Moses.
yeah, I think it's a bit of not worth. I think if you bought Moses, you got to stick him through to the round 19,
round 20,
or three big buys.
Yeah, because I'd say much the same logic for Gutho. I mean, Gutho's dropped a little bit in price. He's 650, but 150K to go to Dylan Edwards, or 50 odd K, whatever it is, to go to Will Kennedy. So
just to give you in perspective, so he hasn't got the best average against the Dragons. His average is 69.7 against the Dragons, which is probably not that great compared to his 95, 79, 78 against other teams. It's okay. He has had last three games against them 8,200 and 185. So he's only
Let's
had
be honest, so
one ton in those last 3 games against the Dragons.
if they're on their game, he could score 60 points in freaking goal kicks. So,
Yeah.
like it's pretty bonkers. Let's hope the Dragons turn up for you, Guy.
Yeah. Who knows? I
I
mean,
will, yeah. I know.
Penrith reserve grade could beat most teams as well. So
Yeah.
Bluebet Stadium's always tough to go to.
We'll just quickly dive through the trading and trade outs just quickly.
You didn't get my segue?
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
About what?
Bluebet Stadium.
Bluebet.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Go on, guys. Go your segue and say shout out to our sponsors. Go.
Yeah, I'd just like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Bluebet. Remember, you gamble, you win some, but you lose more. So
And gamble and bet with your head not over it.
yeah, so if you are having a bet, slide over to Bluebet, have a bit of a geeze, and yeah, you generally get some juicy odds.
Yeah. Very good. Very good, Guy. You should be the face of Bluebet, I reckon. So just quickly going through the trade outs, the top 10, I don't think there's any here that don't make any sense to me, except for maybe the people who are trading out Clint Gutherson boys. Number 8 traded out. Thoughts on that, given he played 16 to 19?
Yeah, it's rubbish. I think all Para, Manly, and Knights players, I think you just got to hold them. It'd be the same as buying your Sharks and Tigers players and Dogs this week for round 16 and then selling them before 19. Like you're buying them for the 2 buys, not just the 1.
Yep. All right, trade-ins, there's some interesting ones here. So Karaz is number 1. I think we all agree that's a good option. Number 2 is Buller. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Gosh, let me just have a quick look here. So there's a lot of Turbo and Teddy to Buller trades. Obviously, you can bank a bucket load of cash to make another upgrade. I just don't like it. I know that it means you can bolster up a second trade, but for me, it doesn't make sense. And either of those two, I'd be going to an Edwards or a Kennedy in a half.
No, not even. I just think Buller's almost 450 now.
He is 450, yeah.
I think if you're selling a Teddy or Turbo, it's fine. But I'd probably just look at swinging down a Garrick or a Taruva down to fullback and bringing like a Kiraz, who's virtually almost the same price as Buller.
Not to mention, too, the Tigers have got a pretty average draw too coming up as well.
Yeah,
so I'm not convinced on him. So yeah.
The only thing I will say is obviously Buller's got a negative BE. He's negative 26. So as soon as he steps on the field, he's going to make 20 to 30K if he hits double figures. So whereas looking at Karaz's BE is 52. So purely from a money-making, like I'm in a situation where I've currently got Osako at fullback with Gutho. So in my situation alone, I could sell Tomoko down to Buller instead of Tomoko to Karaz. So I could move Osako up into centre wing. It means I basically bank an extra 30K, and so I've got 200K in the bank instead of 170. So, and then obviously Buller going to make money. So even if it was a 1 or 2 round play or something like that, if you've got extra trades, I don't hate it, and it's something that I will probably have to really crunch the numbers on myself.
I think if you're using the cash, like if you're going Turbo or Teddy to Buller and you're banking 300K and then upgrading a Nuffy or someone who's 300K to another gun, then I can justify that trade. But I can't justify it if you're not going to do anything with that cash and it's just going to sit there for me.
I agree that it's justifiable. I don't think it's in your case, Roscoe, it is, but in Tim's case, I don't think it's worth it if you're just doing it for a week or 2.
Yeah.
Because Buller, if you're buying him for 19 as well, not just 15. So I think you got to just know that you're going to hold him till then and have one of your fullback spots taken.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I mean, I'm trading out Trell this week, but I'm moving Osako down to fullback. I've got plenty of options there. I've got heaps of fullback centre wings that I can rotate him, Garrick. I know he's not playing this week. Hammer as well. I've got plenty of options there.
Yeah.
So, all right, number 3 on the list is Solo from the Raiders. What's you guys' thoughts on him? Number 3 is 250k. He's plodding along nicely. I don't mind it with Hudson Young possibly out this week, and also obviously Harnera is out as well. What do you guys think on this trading?
I hate it. They don't play the round 16.
Correct. Yep.
The other guy interests me from last week. Was it Fainu?
Yeah, from Manly.
Yeah.
Yep.
The hooker.
Yep.
Yeah, he actually looked all right. He was basement price because he'll play that next bye. But yeah, I haven't even looked at really players that aren't playing the next bye.
Well, this one doesn't make any sense to me either. Is Isako 720k now too? He just went up another 40k last week, and they don't play round 16.
Bit of chasing last week's points.
Think so too. Think so. I think last week was the week if you're going to get him. So, number 5, I like this Nakora. I think we all agree he's a good option if you want to spend that much money. Number 6 is Dylan Edwards. Stop me if you want to say anything while I'm going. Just want to get through it.
Right.
Dylan Edwards, obviously we've spoken about him, good option as well. Horse we spoke about already. I think we like him as an option, but doesn't play round 16. I think go an IPAP or a Bateman or a Nakora or a that's the one I was thinking of instead, because they both will play round 16 and round 19. Number 8, Nick Mendy, we already spoke about. Number 9, chasing points at its best is DWZ.
Yeah, no.
No, dude.
I think if you are looking, like if you're buying Horse or something this week, and like you said, you want someone for both buys, at front row, I don't mind Max King. He had a good start to the year. He's only just 500k. He's got the dual as well, but he'll play both buy rounds and be a solid reliable score as well.
Yeah, number 10 on the list. Number 10 on the list, I like this trade too, is Joey Manu.
Love it, especially now you can put him up in 5'8".
Yep.
Yeah.
You could be dumping Katoa and move him up there, which sooner or later is what I'll be doing.
Yeah, well, that's my plan too, is that if in round 16, if he's named at fullback especially, I'll be somehow downgrading someone to a near cheapy or enough just to get Manu in for Isaiah Katoa.
Yeah, as soon as Dolphins have the bye, he's on the chopping block for me.
Yep. Boys, anything else you want to add on the podcast before we finish up?
C&K, he's one that's gone under the radar for me. I've never started the year with him. He's made over 200k now. Kind of one that's burnt me.
I know there was a lot of
people.
I know there was a lot of people that sold him before round 16 too. So if I had him, I would have held him through.
Yeah, his issue is those head knocks. He's had 2 already this season. If he has a third, he's going to be sitting out for a while.
It's hard, isn't it? Because it was the same with Jackson Ford, because he's missed a couple of games with head knocks already too.
I just need Ford to make his BE this week and not lose any more cash. Then I can upgrade him next week.
Yeah, and also the one to keep an eye on is Blake Wilson, for the Dogs on the wing there. If Fox keeps making the wing, he'll play both 16 and 19. His basement price, and looks like a real goer.
Yeah, he's definitely one. Might be worth. That's where I might get my cash from to go to Katoa up to Manu. I like the Kings guy.
Do you think they'll drop Fox though?
No. So Fox is named on the extended bench this week. I expect him to play. I don't think he misses this week.
No, I'm saying
first. Origin. No. I don't think so. No.
Look at the shitstorm it caused last year by him not getting picked. No. So I can't see him. He could just about sit there for the next bloody 20 years if he wanted to now. The amount of media hype that was going up and about him not being picked last year.
All right, well, that's it for tonight's pod. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll be back Sunday night with the round 14 wrap. and we'll be joined by a special guest, Kyle London, who's currently ranked about 190 at the moment. So keen to get him on the show and have a bit of a chat to him around his trades and what his plans are moving forward if he's willing to share that information. Boys, anything else before we finish up?
Nah, probably just captains. I don't think we touched on it, but
Oh, yeah,
probably.
quickly. We did it on Sunday, but we'll do it again. I'm going to Osaka into Cleary.
Yeah, I'm on Cleary as well. Just praying he backs up. But yeah, I think my VC might be Manu if I bring him in.
At this stage, I'm Osako into Nico.
Yep. All right. See you guys all on Sunday night. Take care and have a good week. See you guys.
Awesome.
Catches.